Hi guys, so this is going to be my revert story. I've been wanting to talk about this for ages, but I just didn't really know how to come about it. But I'm basically just going to try and sum up as brief as I can my revert story. Inshallah, it will inspire somebody or just make somebody feel less alone as a revert. I know it can be really scary. So yeah, I just hope this video reaches you well. So I want to start with a bit of background. I was not brought up with any influence of Islam whatsoever. In fact, when I was younger, up until about 2 years ago, so I reverted last year in May, up until I would say about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I had no idea what Islam even was, like hardly. All I knew was like what I heard through media or through school, which they hardly teach you anything, as you might know if you live in the UK. So growing up, I had hardly any influence at all religious-wise. I had a little bit of religious influence from my mum's side. My mum is from the Caribbean, so growing up, her side of the family was quite religious. We would go to church. Yeah, I would pray sometimes, but that was kind of as far as it went. I was never like devout. I was never passionate about it. It wasn't something that I was keen on. I think it was just one of those things that like I saw my grandmother and my mum practicing it, and it kind of made me want to do it too, because you know, I was young. That kind of stretched up until I was the last year that I was living in Grenada, actually, for a year, just over a year. And obviously there was a lot of religious influence there, so I was definitely practicing it more then. I would go to church more. I would, you know, I was just around more people who were religious, so it felt more natural to me. So then when I came back to the UK, I would say that was when things started to spiral downhill, like 100%, because as soon as I came back to the UK, I was in an area where it was just me amongst nobody even close to, I couldn't relate to anybody, which I think is really dangerous for any young child. I think it's really dangerous when you're in a place where you feel like you cannot relate to anybody, which actually led to me putting on like a facade and a different personality for years. Like I thought I had to pretend to be somebody else for so long, because all I wanted was to fit in, like all I wanted. And throughout school, so mostly throughout years, to be honest, most of the educational system apart from college, I was bullied quite heavily, I would say, and it had a massive impact on me, especially being most schools where I was the only person of colour, mixed person. Everybody else was white, basically. I never know how to say that, but I was the only person who was not white, basically. Maybe me amongst like 5 other people, which made it really difficult because people would always single me out, etc, etc. So I was always doing things for other people's like validation, always. So that actually led to a heavy depression, as it would. It led to quite a heavy depression for me. And in about 2020, so lockdown 2019 to 2020, about that time, I was really struggling. In fact, after 2018, because in 2018, I would constantly try and distract myself. I was going out partying, I was doing this, I was doing that, because as soon as I was actually by myself in my room with just my own thoughts, it was like, nah, it was not good. Like, it was not good. So I would always distract myself because I didn't really know what else to do, to be honest. So that was, yeah. And then at the end of that little parade of parties for the year, it actually hit me that I needed to start getting a bit more serious, because I was going to college, and I was like, come on, Fynn, you need to sort it out, like get into it. Sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but I promise we'll get there soon. So yeah, basically I got really depressed at that time because I was constantly going out and I wasn't being true to myself, which I knew I wasn't at the time, and I know I never really enjoyed it. But yeah, start of 2020 lockdown obviously hit everybody really hard, but I would say it was quite positive for me, because I felt like that was like an opportunity for me to be like, okay, this is my time to change. So 2021, start of 2021 is when in general I was like, okay, I kind of want to look at things from a spiritual perspective. Definitely wasn't looking at things in a religious perspective, but alhamdulillah, it's crazy because I see that I watched a video like the other day, and it was saying how we're all hardwired to worship or find our way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I thought it's kind of cool that like even before that I felt as though I wanted to, I don't know how to explain it, because I guess at the time I didn't really realise it was a religious influence, or maybe I just felt lost basically, and I felt like I needed a purpose, and I really wanted to find that purpose. I felt as though I just felt kind of stupid, because I was like, I've been here for so many years, I've been on this world, not so many, but like a long enough time, someone should have questioned, what am I doing here? Like, we just don't question things, I think, sometimes as humans, which is one of the biggest flaws for anybody. So I started questioning. And as soon as I started looking into Islam, I actually had a friend at the time who I would ask questions about Islam because they were Muslim. And I would always ask these questions, and I would just ask more questions. At the time I was researching, this is like before, all of this is going on, like just before Ramadan, like literally just before, which is such a like beautiful thing of time for it to happen now that I think about it. So yeah, I would do my research on like the Quran, the miracles of the Quran. I was researching how to pray, just things like, not necessarily how to pray, but like watching how people do it. And I was watching so many revert stories because I wanted to see if there was like similar people like me, because I kind of felt like I had this misconception where I thought like, because I'm not from a Muslim country, and because I haven't been brought up that way, I kind of felt like I wasn't worthy of it. So yeah, I kept researching. I would listen to Quran for so long, and I would like look at podcasts and speeches. Yeah, after I started doing loads of research, so many like beautiful things started happening to me. So for one, my depression was like, it was almost gone completely, and I just noticed this positivity in myself. So for me, that was already like a massive sign to me that I was like, this is definitely who I was supposed to be, and this is definitely something that feels right for me. So some other things that started happening to me was that I used to get severe night terrors, I think it's called, or like I can't remember what else it's called, but just really severe vivid nightmares I used to get for a really long period in my life, most of my life I would say, and hallucinations. And as soon as I started, like, I would make du'as, because that was all I knew how to make. I didn't know how to make salah yet, so I would make du'as. And as soon as I started making du'as, I literally did not experience any bad dreams, nightmares. Like, my sleep improved so much. I would start waking up at prayer time, even though I wasn't like checking the prayer time actively. I would check the next day and I was like, wow, like I'm waking up at the exact same time every day for like a really long time. So yeah, that was really beautiful. And then, so after this like long period of time, I'm making du'as and they're getting answered so fast, which I think is so amazing, because I wasn't even Muslim yet, so you can only imagine how much your as a Muslim your du'as are valued. Like, you can only imagine if I wasn't even Muslim. So yeah, they were getting answered immediately, and I suddenly just felt this immense purpose and peace. I can't even explain it. It's just like having a weight lifted off your shoulders. And the time leading up to when I reverted, I was literally addicted. It was on my mind all the time. Like, I couldn't sleep because I was just thinking about it all the time. I was just thinking about the world. I was thinking about the miracles of, you know, the miracles of the Quran. I was thinking about all the miracles of the world, basically. And I was just thinking of like the mercy of God. I was thinking of all of these things up until like end of May, when I was like, okay, I'm ready to say my shahada. And obviously it was like it's definitely a big decision, but I was like, at that point I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to live after knowing what I know and just blindly live my life like, yep, I know that, you know, the day of judgment is coming, etc, and I'm just gonna walk around blindly. Like, I couldn't have done that. It would not have been able to. I would not be happy. It's not possible. Anyways, I'm just waffling, but yeah, I said my shahada on the 25th of May, and it was honestly the best day of my life. It was incredible. Yeah, it's literally just like a massive weight being lifted off your shoulders. It's like the biggest relief that you could ever feel, and yeah, I'm so grateful for that day. I always get questions as a revert about the most questions I get asked is actually more about like, how did my family take it, or like friends and stuff like that, because as a revert that can be really scary, like especially living in an area where there's like hardly literally less than probably 5 Muslims in my area. Like honestly, it's not a diverse area in general at all. So I found it really scary, and alhamdulillah, my parents were not, they were so accepting, they were so unjudgmental. They didn't make any comments, like they were just happy to see how happy I was, because it was such a noticeable difference. Like they were so happy to see that I was finally the person who I was meant to be. And my parents always said, like, we're not surprised, to be honest, like you seem so much happier like this than going out and like just following a crowd basically, even though I wasn't happy. So I'm really grateful about that. In terms of friends, to be honest, in general, I really am not a big friendship group person. I have like three friends, like close friends. So, and two of those close friends that I've made are from university. So they know me just like how they just know me as this Fynn, which I really like. That's so great. Like honestly, if you're thinking of like coming out as Muslim, or like, you know, telling people that you're Muslim, and you're like about to go to university, that is literally the best time to just do it, because you're gonna be able to like make new friends and meet new people as the you that you just want to see, and it's just so great. Honestly, it is the best feeling ever, alhamdulillah. But so yeah, advice with friends, all I can say is just be yourself, to be honest. You know how you want to live your life, and if they're true friends, they will be accepting of that, and if not, then you didn't really lose anything, because obviously they weren't real friends. I don't want to talk too much on the hijab, because I literally only just started wearing it like full time, probably like 4 weeks ago. Yeah, something like that. I only just started wearing it recently. The only piece of advice that I would say as a revert is probably best to stay off social media until you are, when I say stay off, I would say stay off social media until you are fully covered and the person that you want to come, because it makes it so much harder to think to yourself like, I've got all these posts on my Instagram that people have seen, my current following have seen, and now I have to come back. Obviously if you don't care, then you don't care, that's fine, but it just makes it harder to have to come back and like all of a sudden this big change that you might be more anxious about making. For me personally, I deleted my entire old social media page and just made a new one from scratch, which is just got my close friends in a minute. But yeah, I just made it to more be like a blog, personal journey type thing. So yeah, that's kind of all the advice I have for you guys, because I'm not the most knowledgeable person ever, so I don't want to go through anyone advice that's not really, you know, doesn't hold any weight. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say in this video. I just hope that inshallah it can make some of the reverts feel less lonely, I guess, and if you're not a revert, I still hope that you could have found something inspiring in this video, or yeah, learned something, or just enjoyed watching, to be honest.